Welcome all to this Mortals Watch the Day mini focusing on Thomas Lewis's photograph entitled Lewis's Liverpool, first published as a collotype picture postcard circa 1907. The Thomas Lewis responsible for this unique photograph of the original Lewis's department store, taken from a vantage point partway down Ranelagh Street, almost opposite the entrance to Central Railway Station, is no relation to David Lewis, born David Levy in 1822, the influential Jewish businessman after whom the Lewis's department store brand had become a byword for quality in children's and men's tailoring in Liverpool since 1856. He was in fact a veteran photographer of exterior and topographical views based in Birmingham, whose extensive output had come to rival that of well-known contemporaries such as Francis Frith and Henry Bedford Lemire by the beginning of the 20th century. Lewis's best-selling series of colour-tinted collotype postcards were bought and sold all over the country, including the very department store that is the subject of the present discussion, and remained a popular alternative to those produced by leading competitors such as Valentine's of Dundee, up until his death in 1913, largely because all of the views Lewis published were taken by him. As such, Thomas Lewis often managed to avoid the generic or the staid, a point amply demonstrated by the sharp angles and raked perspective in this example. David Lewis opened his first men's tailoring business at number 44 Ranelagh Street in 1856. Subsequent expansion in the 1860s enabled him to purchase the neighbouring properties at 42 and numbers 36 to 38 before the entire Ranelagh Street block was completed by the addition of the former Jacobs tailoring premises at number 40 in 1877. A pioneer of the universal provider or department store shopping experience wherein all manner of goods and services could be purchased under one roof, Lewis's, as it became known, was the preeminent example of the type in Liverpool. The incremental built-up nature of the original Ranelagh Street store is evident by the somewhat mixed architectural styles visible in the exterior of Thomas Lewis's photograph, despite the fact that by the time this shot was taken, the building had undergone extensive remodelling following a near calamitous fire on Christmas Eve 1886. Those of us familiar with the entirely rebuilt Lewis's building of 1956 will more than likely be aware of Sir Jacob Epstein's colossal bronze sculpture of Liverpool Resurgent adorning the grand Renshaw Street Ranelagh Street entrance, sometimes comically referred to by local residents as Dickie Lewis because of its pronounced genitalia, but it may be a surprise to discover that this was not the first such statue to adorn Lewis's flagship Liverpool store. As Thomas Lewis's photograph of the Ranelagh Street frontage makes clear, an over life-size figure, this time of founder David Lewis, dressed in the kind of elegantly smart three-piece tailored suit his establishment was famous for, once occupied pride of place above the Ranelagh Street Fairclough Street display window. This statue was added to the Lewis's building frontage in 1887 on commission from Lewis's nephew Louis Cohen, in tribute to his pioneering uncle who died on the 4th of December 1885. Cohen, who had quickly succeeded Lewis as owner-chairman of the business, invoked the indomitable spirit of his late uncle frequently following the aforementioned fire of 24th of December 1886, which tore through much of the original department store's lavish interiors and caused extensive damage to its structural integrity. Indeed, for a time it was even thought that the building could not possibly be saved, but Cohen was determined to salvage as much of his late uncle's department store vision as possible, and remarkably within 6 months, on Saturday the 23rd of July 1887, the fire-ravaged business reopened its doors to rapturous acclaim. Much like Epstein's later artwork, itself a response to a phoenix-like recovery from a terrible conflagration, the statue of David Lewis was considered by management and employees alike to embody a kind of protective shield or shroud around the business almost from the moment it was installed. It was believed that, graced with the transmogrified humanism and philanthropic spirit of David Lewis himself to preserve it, the kind of calamity by fire that had befallen the Lewis's building in 1886 was unlikely to occur again. As it happened, such convictions might have been well founded. The statue of David Lewis continued to shield Lewis's from harm until the full-scale redevelopment of the Ranelagh Street department store in the 1920s rendered the exterior placement of the statue inconvenient. To follow this reasoning to its logical conclusion, the statue's removal left the Lewis's building once again open to attack, this time the destructive whims of Hitler's Luftwaffe during the Blitz in May 1941, when for only the second time in its history, Lewis's flagship department store was almost entirely burnt to the ground.